Do you go above and beyond at work or just do the bare minimum of what's expected and why? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the Vancher channel. Also, please share your thoughts on this video in the comments. Let's get started. Story 1. In between, try to complete my tasks to the best of my ability, and I try to help my coworkers whenever they need it. But I'm not working to my maximum limit exactly, or pushing myself to work as hard as I can 24/7. You got to set the average standard for your output below your maximum possible ability. You know? Answer. If you work in an industry where mastery is possible, this is the way to do it. You'll never really improve if you just scrape by. If your employer doesn't reward your efforts, change employer and find somewhere that will. The higher your mastery, the more freedom to choose you'll have, and the more clout you'll have in your work positions. I definitely slogged it out for the first 3 or 4 years of my career for mediocre pay, working with colleagues not pulling weight. I got the skill mastery to move to companies with higher standards, and now I'm much happier. Story 2. I was giving my full effort and energy for a few years, and then during one appraisal, our CEO came and said, "We are happy to announce that we made 13x profit and our company is doing extremely well, but we can't give you any hike. But don't worry, we feel your frustration and our empathy is with you guys." This triggered me, and I just give my bare minimum since and searching for a new job since. Answer. Yep, worked my jerk off at a startup for years right out of college. Always took on more work. Asked for a raise after 5 years, they said next year. Started asking every few months, and they just got annoyed with me and said, "Other than this project you lead and are the sole developer on, what have you really done to earn a raise?" So I quit, fudged them, and now I'm jaded and don't work nearly as hard. There's no reason to. Either it'll get a raise or I won't. Has nothing to do with my performance. Story 3. I learned this the hard way that in most companies, the only reward for being the fastest digger is a bigger shovel. If you show them you can do the work of 2 people, they won't double your pay. They will just fire the other person and dump their work on you. So I do exactly what I am paid to do. Answer. I've noticed hard work does help you move up, but you need to be strategic also. Hard work on mundane tasks does nothing. You need to go above and beyond on things that your manager's manager will see, not just having the highest number on some scoreboard. You also need to tell people that you want to move up. My company has one-on-one meetings with your manager and a skip level with their manager. This is when you ask, what do I need to do to move up? It gets the idea in their heads. If you're always pushing for it, you'll be in the conversation even if you aren't necessarily better than your coworkers. It's really is a game and it's not fair, but being seen as a hard worker helps. Story 4. Employee exceeded role requirements and contributed well above expectations. Company during annual review. We appreciate your contributions, but since we expected you to exceed expectations, we will rate you as meets expectations. Here's your 2 raise. Answer. I'm a financial analyst. I still find it quite funny how I really pushed myself in 2023 and went way above expectations in my job responsibilities, but received a 3 meets expectations on a scale of 1 to 5 for that year review, which really ticked me off. So in 2024, I started doing the bare minimum. I started cutting corners with my analyses, lower quality narratives, less polished formatting, and more. I also stopped responding to emails within an hour, and overall just cared less about the work I do. My boss said I impressed, and I received a hard-earned 4 exceeds expectations on the same scale. I've continued the same as I did in 2024, and we shall see how my 2025 review looks. My boss is not a micromanager, but she really doesn't manage at all. She's 1 foot out the door and has been since I started. She is literally just doing the staff performance evaluations on vibes, I swear. Story 5. I'm on a path of self-improvement, so I'm actively seeking the bare minimum and hope to achieve it soon. Story 6. Kindergarten teacher here, above and beyond, because my students deserve the best start to their education. Story 7. I treat my job as the company paying for my time. I don't really care what they ask me to do during that time. I'll do it however well I can while they're paying for that time. Putting in effort makes the workday go by faster. The fudge else am I going to do for 8 hours? Answer. Hi, recently laid off. This is the 4th layoff and stretch of unemployment in the last 5 years for me. What else are you going to do with 8 hours? Oh my Lord. Has my life been amazing when I don't have to work? I got sober. I ride my bike every day, learned to cook, read books, started working out, color, learn, going back to school, so much I do with my time when I'm unemployed. Those 8 hours of work really suck your soul away, Lowell. Story 8, bare minimum. I used to go above and beyond, but realized quickly how little this amounts to. You end up doing everyone else's work for the same pay. No recognition, no promotion. Still get denied anything you ask for. All while watching the delinquent and lazy workers, who all harmful behavior. The policies get everything they want. Imagine someone having 54 absences on the year and nothing happens to them. But I get punished for having approved surgery scheduled a month ahead of time. Answer. Oh, I see this a lot with people with children. I had a coworker, was a single mom, take time off all of the time. She would leave early, show up late, take personal phone calls from her child's father, literally all of the time. I started getting these really bad migraines that took a while to figure out the cause and the cure. I was written up, verbally warned, and honestly low-key bullied by my coworkers, including the mom, for calling out a lot, needing to leave to go to my neurologist. It's like they didn't believe me that, yes, a person can have a migraine multiple times a week, and yes, I really do need to see all of these specialists. Totally unfair. Story 9. After being laid off after 10 years at a corporate job, I thought cared about my achievements. Big mistake. I just do what I'm asked in my new role. I put my best effort in, but otherwise I leave at 5 and don't try to win any awards or go above and beyond. At the end of the day, if they need to cut numbers, they will regardless of your performance. Answer. Most of the responses I am seeing here that address making yourself invaluable and work ethic are presumably from folks who have never been shafted. My dad was one of these people right up until he fudge wasn't. He is in an incredibly specialized role in an extremely niche field, so he always thought he was special. Well, back in 20, most of the people in his area of the company got laid off. I'm talking breadwinners close to retirement who'd been with the company for a decade or more, right along with young up-and-comers. It completely reoriented how my dad approaches his job. Many of those who were laid off were his longtime friends and coworkers. And since this area is so specialized, finding a new job in the field could very well mean moving across the country. It's just a job to him now. Story 10. I aim for above and beyond until I remember that snacks exist in the break room. Then it's more of a strategic balance between productivity and snack acquisition. Story 11. Monday and Friday is bare minimum. Tuesday, Thursday is dependent on my mood and how much my coworkers piss me off that day. Story 12. Bare minimum. I once went above and beyond at my job. So much so, I was practically married to it while doing the job of 3 people, but only with the salary of 1, because I wanted that promotion so badly. Then they hired a teenager to take it, the only time I ever quit in disgust. Answer. They taught me that in my very first job, 3-year project at university. Put in an extra hour every day for 2.5 years because I wanted the project to succeed. During the final 6 months, my boss started calling me every day a minute after work began and a minute before it ended to make sure I wouldn't skip a single minute, and berated me like a child when I was 5 minutes late. That's when you learn that going the extra mile with no position to be promoted to is never rewarded. Story 13. Dislike the question that doesn't seem to suggest there's a middle ground. There are days that I do very little. There are others that I am working late to get whatever the urgent and visible thing is done. On balance, it works out fine, and I've progressed ahead of what is typically expected in my industry without slavishly eliminate myself every day. Answer. Totally agree with this. I've absolutely put my nose to the grindstone when I have to, working late or early, helping other teams when it's all hands on deck to meet deadlines, etc. Then other times when things are slow, I do nothing but monitor emails and watch YouTube or otherwise mail body part around on my phone on Reddit. It's a give and take that all averages out. Story 14. I do just enough not to get fired. Why? Because they would post my job before my obituary if I were to drop dead. Story 15. Depends on your and what you want to achieve at it. Personally, I'm working a job I don't plan on being at forever and see people get away with putting in less effort than I do for the same pay. So yeah, I put in what I consider the bare minimum for me. Story 16. Corporations aren't loyal to you. I do what's needed at my current job, and I'm always willing to move on to new positions if I'm offered a promotion pay raise. Story 17. I can't not, but I wish I was one of the people that just coast. They seem to get to enjoy life way more and have less stress. For me, getting shoot done is the only way I can manage my stress levels. So how they can let things go to crap and still not lose sleep. I envy that sometimes. Answer: I am the same. My industry, accounting, is notoriously toxic with long hours and unsustainable workloads. The people that coast are either constantly getting called out for missed work deadlines, or they are really good at deflecting blame and throwing other people under the bus. Both of these things would keep me up at night way more than the stress and burnout. I don't know what to do. Story 18. Because what I do affects my coworkers, I do my best. Mostly because I've seen that someone doing the bare minimum requires more work from others to pick up slack. I'm usually the slack picker-upper, because if you don't do that day's work, it still has to get done. Story 19. I go above and beyond for two main reasons. Job is more than just a paycheck. I know when I need something like taking more days off or absence or anything like that, they will do whatever they can to help me. It's a mutual relationship based on give and take. As a professional, I also have a professional courtesy to do a good job to gain a reputation in the field. Answer: yes. The answer to this question totally depends on the job at hand. You at Taco Bell? Fudge that place, man. But if you are, say, a professional engineer, doing your best is the only thing that makes you stand out in a sea of mediocre engineers. You're the one who doesn't get laid off when the waves come and go. You also start to get asked things by younger engineers who need help and eventually looked at for leadership semi-roles. Eventually being the high performer engineer who really owns things that are given to them is quite literally the only way you're getting promoted. A bare minimum, do nothing unless specifically asked engineer is not making it to grade 7, maybe not even to grade 6 in most corporate structures. Senior engineer, grade 5, is where many will stall out whenever they could become managers or become principals, technical expert corporate tracks, and make significantly more money. Story 20. I used to. The guy who was the storeman was a great guy, and I had total respect for him and would do anything for him. Unfortunately, he died from cancer last year, and the guy who replaced him is a bit of a male body part at times, and I don't respect him like his predecessor. So yeah, I will give a little extra, but nowhere near as much. Story 21. I'm 17, I'm a junior. For some reason, they expect me to be a perfect worker, despite being paid less than the adult staff who I often find talking to one another rather than working. Answer: you're a fetus. Never compare yourself to the bottom. Going above and beyond means you're learning something, so you either 1 pound get promotion based on your experience, 2 have experience to find better paying job. Never grind, always solve problems in more efficient way, learning various tools and advancing your expertise. Lazy person with tech or other skill will always be ahead of meticulous manual labor. Bonus points for a title and more job, but without a pay rise. If pay rise doesn't follow shortly, it still looks better on the CV if you can make at least 6 months with that title, so don't turn it down immediately. It all depends on fucked and other factors, so don't cling to single truths, but make an honest assessment of your specific situation. Story 22. I always worked like I had equity. So much of success is having good habits. Doing your best is a good habit. Story 23. I don't think I fall somewhere in the middle. Oftentimes, I will do a great job that makes me a higher performer, but I usually just limit it to work hours. There can be some cases where I will go and do stuff in the evenings to make things successful if I think it's critical. The big thing is, I won't make my baseline. I do extra work every day to get stuff done. At the end of the day, I do take some pride in doing good work, but I know eliminate myself getting work done is not going to get me any significant form of compensation, additionally where I work. We are not paid hourly, and just like everywhere else, salary bumps are not amazingly worth the effort at my level. I can probably push hard for one more promotion for maybe 10 salary bump, or I could choose not to and use the extra time probably to make more money if I really cared that much. Or just look for a new gig that paid more. I don't think now is the best time for such a change, and I make more than enough to live comfortably. Also, I do think the phrase I work to live and live to work, so I try to limit my hours overall. But that doesn't mean I have to do the bare minimum while I'm there. I think doing a good job is a way to feel a sense of accomplishment. Story 24. I simply do my job somehow. This has always made me a better worker than most. When I was young, I tried harder, but all that did was punish me. Story 25. Above and beyond for 2 reasons. I was raised to do a job well. When it comes time to lay people off, I want to make it difficult for them to put me on that list. My company Force ranks performance and uses a 9-block rating as well. The goal is to stay out of the bottom. Answer. When it comes time to lay people off, I want to make it difficult for them to put me on that list. My company force ranks performance and uses a 9-block rating as well. The goal is to stay out of the bottom. If layoffs are always 100 performance based at your place, then good strategy. But be careful. I was literally a key person dependency at my last job and still got laid off because the decisions got made based more on who is friends with who. I picked the losing side in the office politics war. Story 26. I usually go above and beyond if you're treated with respect. The reason is because when I go above and beyond, it increases my odds of moving up in that organization. But I'll really only do that if it's an organization in which I want to stay. The exception is if a title change is in the works and I want to use that for when I apply elsewhere. Since being hired, I received 2 promotions over the person who interviewed me, and when layoffs happen, he was cut while I was put in charge of a new unit with a raise, so it pays off. Story 27. I do my best every day. I have certain goals I want to hit and certain things I want to get done. And once I have them done, I am satisfied. For me, it's not about them. It's about me. I do my best because I want to be able to live with myself, and I take great pride in my work. Story 28. If I go to a pizza joint and order a pizza, I expect to just get a pizza. I don't get mad and yell, "Where's the garlic knots? 2-liter soda, buffalo wings," basically saying you get what you pay for. I do the bare minimum because that's all they paid for. Story 29. I'll do the bare minimum. With excellence, I do exactly what I get paid to do. Any more than that is working for free. Story 30. I do everything to the best of my ability and strive to take on as much responsibility as possible. Why? Because give it enough time of doing the bare minimum and you'll find yourself asking what the point of existing is. I don't do it for my company. On the contrary, I remind everyone I know that your company has no loyalty to you and it's completely a transaction of service for money. I do it for myself because the only way to improve is to have an improvement mindset. Can't have that doing the bare minimum. Why improve? Because the alternative is facing irrelevance. If you don't improve yourself while others do, you'll always find yourself on the bottom. Story 31. I go above and beyond, and last week I found out my colleague who joined a year after me and regularly asks for my help is on $12,000 a year more than me. Story 32. In the way they want? Probably not. My employer would absolutely let me work way more hours, to just keep my head down and crank out as much work as possible, to stop trying to hold people accountable or bringing up possible problems. In ways that I'm sometimes drawn to solve problems that are beneficial but not asked of me. Sometimes. I enjoy reporting. I was given a task that needed it and used that as excuse to make sure we had as much as we could with what we had. Even made a tweak this week because some data was missing. In ways that can save me hassle and/or inconvenience later, as much as I can muster. This often contradicts with the first way I mentioned. I push to make sure expectations are set and documented. I try to document things so there are fewer questions and less confusion. I point out possible issues or opportunities when providing input. All of these things, if not done, can mean things end up back in front of me to fix. Story 33. I'm a professor. I don't really go above and beyond for admin, but I will go above and beyond for students who are really trying. Story 34. Bare minimum and always looking to shave off that minimum. If I get to be sentient once every 13.5B years, I'm not going to waste it on working. Story 35. Going above beyond doesn't get you anywhere at any job. They'll promote the morons, external hires, BC. They know, keeping the work ethic loaded, individuals will keep their pockets afloat, while the new mini GMT keeps their knees on our necks. Story 36. I always start out strong with 110 until I see that I'm treated as a liability instead of an asset. If my manager presumes incompetence even after I consistently go the extra mile, then I dial it way back and start looking for another job. I'm really tired of managers expecting me to constantly prop up their upwardly failing jerk while they shoot on me and my coworkers. Story 37. Bare minimum, as in I will do my written tasks as well as I can, because I used to do more than that. Story 38. I learned that no matter how hard I worked and how much I excelled, the only recognition I got was more work. I learned that the hard way with my last job. Instead of hiring the third person we needed, they just dumped work on me and then told me I didn't deserve a decent raise when I asked. Nowadays, I get the shoot done that's put on my desk, but that's it. Gone are the days of staying late, going in early, and stressing for companies that, if I passed today, would have my job posted before I was even cold. Story 39. I used to work extra hard and go above and beyond, but after realizing they started scheduling just me for a certain task and the work was harder for me, I stopped. Story 40. Always go above and beyond in my allotted hours. If I slacken work, which is a large part of my life, that will spill over to other parts of my life. Don't let your standards slip. Also, if you do your best, you will be recognized, and sure, they may put more work on you, but that's experience ready for either a new position in your current company or at another place. Always strive to do your best. Story 41. My mom always says that you should do your part and don't slack. She works in healthcare, and whenever we are out and she sees someone half-assing their job, she always says, if I would work like that, people would die. A good example was recently we took a bus and we asked if this bus takes the route X, and the bus driver literally said, I don't know. Story 42. Early in my career, I worked for a company that paid for your dinner if you put in 2.5 hours of overtime that day. The salary sucked and free dinners 4 nights a week helped a lot. So that caused me to normally put in a 50-hour week. Many people worked longer than that, but I only did it for the free food. It did probably help me to get noticed, but the big jumps came from switching jobs. Story 43. 2 people in this thread, those who only do the bare minimum, those who currently go above and beyond and haven't been burned for it yet. Story 44. They'll get 100 when I'm on the job, but 0 fudge when I'm off the clock. I've had far too many employers try exploiting my good work ethic on my days off. Story 45. As a military member, my job changes regularly, and one such assignment completely beat the give-a-shoot out of me. I went from someone building cool cutting-edge stuff to, how long is it until DH won't be mad if I leave? Say what you want, but one really dumb assignment can greatly impact a person. And it wasn't even the people I worked for. I liked them. It was a completely awful mission. Story 46. Bare minimum. Company doesn't care about me, so why should I do the same? All I care about is getting my paycheck at the end of the day. Story 47. I've realized the more you do, they will give you more tasks, but they won't give you a raise. And they will have a need to criticize you more because they'll see how much you care about doing your best and more. Story 48. I try to do the bare minimum. I've learned being a top performer or trying too hard isn't going to give me more money, just more work and higher expectations. So I chill most of the time, but I tend to still do better than most as I can't get myself to just stop caring, lol. Story 49. Was the former, climb the ladder, chase the pay, all that jazz, eventually got tired of the corporate BS, and now we just cruising. Story 50. I accidentally made myself indispensable at my current job. When I start over at a new one, it's bare minimum for me, baby. Story 51. Depends where I work. When I was at the RV factory, bare minimum. Now that I work for an animal shelter, I give my all. Giving animals comfort and cleanliness helps my purpose day to day, regardless of the money. I can't stand working for bigger corporations unless what they are doing greatly benefits humanity and also benefits their local community. The latter is a huge part that's missing in today's world with corporations, in my opinion. Story 52. I used to go above and beyond, working my tail off to do my work and help anyone I could. All it ever got me was more work and a front row seat to watch everyone I covered for and helped out get promoted before me. Now I do what I need to do day to day, and that's it. I have no interest in promotion or advancement. I'm already at a level where my next step would be supervision, and that isn't something that I'm remotely interested in. Story 53. I was self-employed for decades, running my own construction company. I have only one gear, and that is full speed ahead. Now, I'm in corporate stupid world, and I know my efforts will not be rewarded. I don't care. I can't make myself slack off, even if I try. I can't stand it. I have 7 years until retirement, and I outwork 20-year-olds daily. But nobody cares. We all get paid the same. I work this hard for me. It's what I do. I'm happier this way. Story 54. Right in the middle. I'm respectful to my management team and easy to work with, but I don't let them take advantage of me. Set a limit. I complete the work I'm given with no minimal and constructive complaints. I don't ask for help, nor do I help out. Below got a lot of whiners at work, but I will help those who I believe deserve it or really need it. We got guys that'll meanie about anything, but we also got good, hard-working people who get slammed unfairly with work and are struggling. Story 55. I used to try and go above and beyond, but then I realized I'm not getting paid more for working harder. Now I do the bare minimum. Story 56. Bare minimum. After 15 years in salaried roles, if you work extra hard, there's no promotions. And your raise as a reward later will forever be just less than inflation no matter what you do. Story 57. Nope, I give the bare minimum at work. After years of going above and beyond with the only reward being more work and little raises, while people who did less than the minimum were networking with the managers got ahead, yeah, I'm not busting my jerk at work ever again. I'll work hard enough not to get fired. It's the motivation speech from Office Space, really. Story 58. I do the bare minimum. 1. I work service tickets, basically. Some are self-generated and others are called in. They can last 20 mins or like 3 hours depending on the problem. The expectation is take the ones you have, 2, and try and find like 4 on your own a month. But it's not really all that busy. Because I cannot work from home and have to be at work for my entire shift, I try and do one 20-min ticket a day. Story 59. Getting a 3-cent raise was the biggest slap in the face for going above and beyond. Now I do just enough past the bare minimum where everyone, including myself, is satisfied. Going above and beyond didn't get me much further anyway. Story 60. I walk in knowing what I want to get done that day, and I do it. Some days it takes more effort than others. I like that my work contributes actively to the success of my store and my company, because if we do well, I can expect a bonus and a nice raise next quarter. Plus, it's a great feeling when my customers compliment my store and my department, because it lets me know that I'm doing something unique that they can only find in our store. I'm a toys game specialist for a major book retailer. It's the best job at the best store and the best company. I'm very fortunate. Story 61. I started with a union company in 1986 at the suggestion of a lady who lived across the street from me. She told me 3 things: be on time, be willing to learn, be the best of what you do. I struggled with the first cause I was a kid, but the other 2 I've tried to do my entire career. When I moved to the outside construction end of it, I got more advice. Be where you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. Ask questions. Keep learning. I love what I do, and I'm compensated for doing a good job, not only on my paycheck, but in keeping safe because it is a dangerous job. I would imagine that if it was a thankless job and I had a thankless boss, my attitude might be different. Story 62. What I've learned is if you put forth 100, that becomes the new expected amount out of you. At the end of the day, you can be doing 50 things right, but that one thing wrong is what will stick. Story 63. I do what my dad told me. Only give them what you feel they're worth. Don't give them your all, because then they expect that from you at all time. Story 64. Any job I've had over my life, I start out going above and beyond. After getting taken advantage of, walked over, and watched people who did 13. The work I did get promoted for jerk kissing, I just give up and start doing the exact guideline for my job. Nothing extra, no helping others, just doing my job. Corporate America is no longer about employees being family, but about shoving a body into a position and replacing it whenever needed. Story 65. I do the bare minimum to the best of my abilities. When I'm at work, I work hard and strive to do well. But I don't do overtime that I'm not going to be compensated for, and I max out all benefits like PTO, medical, and the other little things my job gives us. I'm not looking to climb the ladder. Burnout in my industry is basically inevitable during the busy season, so it's important to maintain that work-life balance, and practicing it year-round helps. Story 66. Above and beyond, from my point of view, the bare minimum from my manager's point of view, because I don't want to work overtime for free. Story 67. I act my wage. I do what's required of me based on the job description and employee handbook. I've worked enough to know that going above and beyond only ever gets you more work without more pay. Story 68. So long as my work pays me the minimum, they will get the minimum. I will let them know I want more responsibility and show that I am capable of meeting their expectations. But we have created a system that favors paying the least to get the most and openly promotes it. So long as that system is in place, I will not willingly offer myself to be exploited in the hopes that my employer chooses to pay it back when they have no obligation to do so and every reason to push me to my breaking point before folding. If I thought my extra hard work would do anything but enrich the pockets of my employer, who makes many magnitudes more than I would, but that's proven untrue. Unionize, support profit sharing, be the better boss when you have the chance to. Story 69. My bare minimum is above and beyond of what these idiots are capable. I was once told to stay in my lane when I first started. I stay in my lane and watch them struggle. They always come to me as a last resort, and I figure it all out within a minute. Story 70. I get my work done in a reasonable manner. It's not really bare minimum, but going way above and beyond just means I get paid the same for more stress. Story 71. I do my job to my standards, which are high, but I don't eliminate myself. I just take pride in what I do and want it to be good. If I get annoyed with the boss, I'll slack off a little. If I'm shown appreciation, I tend to work a little harder for a little while. I learned a long time ago that my time is worth more to me than any job could ever pay me. So I don't work part-time and don't take any work home with me. It's a trade-off, making less, but I'm more happy than I've ever been. Story 72. I used to go above and beyond. It was unsustainable, and then I got rewarded with more work. Now I do my job well, but I don't get tricked into the fake sense of urgency. Story 73. I work how I want to represent myself. I'll work hard, but won't eliminate myself for an employer. As we all know, they can and will replace you without a second thought. Perfect example, my last job. Called out once because I had COVID. Always volunteered to help when they were short. Never late, never written up. They changed me to a part-time employee and ghosted me. Story 74. Do the bare minimum when I can get away with it. You, the guy who is overworked to the bone, and the slacker make the same money. Story 75. I'm in government and am paid significantly lower than my private sector counterpart. I tell people I act my wage. I get my work done efficiently and do my best to represent taxpayers, but I don't put in extra effort. Story 76. I do more than expected, but less than my maximum. I always got positive results out of it, promotions, etc. But I actually do it because it is a level that I feel good about. I feel like I am doing a great job, which lifts my mood up and be proud of what I do. Story 77. Both. I do what's required and a few things above and beyond. Nobody much notices that, but it gives me personal satisfaction. Story 78. Most of my fun, interesting jobs have been because I was good at my previous job, where I enjoyed what I was doing and it showed. 2,000 miles away in a new town, I got a job because a previous contact told my new contact, "Hey, Mr. MJ just moved out there. Look them up. They are great." That led to multiple jobs over the years. I will save the bare minimum for something I don't care for, and that no one cares what the result is someday. But let's call out reality. There are days that you're not feeling it. It's reasonable to find your way through. Superman, Supergirl need a break to have their capes cleaned sometimes. They just don't show that in the comics. Story 79. I work at a faster pace than my coworkers and get more done because I want to move up within the company and make more money while doing less. Story 80. I try to do better than my coworkers, but not well enough that I get piled on. It's a fine line to ride. Story 81. I do what I need to, but not much more. I've been here 30 years, and I have the type of job that is an endless river of tasks. You never really finish, you just go to the next thing. If you do finish tasks, that just triggers more tasks, so I pace it. Story 82. Depends on my capacity for work on any given day. If I am feeling good and well supported in a day ill, put my best self forward and help wherever I can. If I am feeling sick or overworked and underappreciated, I'll do what I need to do to get through my day. If my workplace offers systems of support for me to access, I'm much more inclined to put my best work forward and deal with my issues through the supports available. Story 83. I procrastinate and definitely don't feel like I go above and beyond. Yet I'm constantly told that I work hard and do a great job. I feel like that Steve Carell meme every time. I think it's just where I live, people don't really work hard. And where I grew up, working hard was part of the culture. Story 84. Pick my spots. There is some work in which the maximum you can perform is 2 spec, so you do that 2 spec. Other work you can overachieve in, so that's where you can apply extra energy. Typically that comes in planning on how to better perform that 2 spec work. Story 85. I've always gone above and beyond. I was told by managers before things like, you don't have to sell yourself all the time, because I was consistently friendly to everyone who came into the office. Logistics office, so truckers, delivery drivers, longshoremen, etc. They all got treated like crap by the other office people, but I don't believe in that ideology. I've been told to tone it down and stop trying so hard so many times that I didn't realize I was getting fired until it happened. The reason I believe in going above and beyond is because I consider myself more capable than the average human. So the average is the minimum for me, and I don't like doing the minimum. If I'm going to bother going somewhere for 40 hours a week, then I'm going to bother having a good time with it as much as possible. Story 86. I have no idea why people still want to partake in this society. It's actually just easier to live in a forest and grow potatoes than work 120 hours a week so you can please your Amazon and pedophile Trump masters. Story 87. I gave 1 in 10 until my poor review performance, which rates my attendance as average. I was never late or called off once. I found out in the top secret meeting that managers were asked to rate everyone low so they didn't have to hand out raises. Now I hide whenever possible and make those issues. I was so good at diffusing their problem now. Story 88. Used to. Never again. Not unless it's my own business. Employers don't understand the value of work, and if I did have my own business, I wouldn't hire anybody unless I could pay them a living wage. Story 89. Bare minimum in reality, but portrayed myself as a good worker on the surface when I needed to. But I was rarely monitored. I did my own thing and then some most of the time. If they knew what I was up to, they would have had me arrested. And I completely got away with it for decades. Never got caught. Why did I do it? Because fudge them. They thought they were fudge me over, when in reality I fudged them over way, way more and benefited greatly in the process. Story 90. I feel kind of disgusted in just a clash of worldview, I guess, from people who say bare minimum. How can you be content with not wanting to become masterful at the thing you've chosen to spend most of your life doing? In the alternative sense, you're still going to spend most of your life doing it. So you are rebellious with what outcome? Just mediocrity. Do you think mastery and your other goals are mutually exclusive? Answer. Thing is, like everything in life, nothing's perfect. I personally love my job at RD, but it has some shoot things that personally I think should not be our department's job that I do dislike. I usually don't need to work above average when doing what I like because I love doing it and it just flows. But for regulatory, paperwork, and other boring shoot, I really do go bare minimum as I'm not passionate at all about it, and most of our department would agree it should not be part of our job. Additionally, I can understand how people who have a job they're not passionate about or you can't evolve much in, like factory workers who do repetitive stuff, will always do the bare minimum. It only makes sense. Story 91. I show up early every day. I'm never late, and I rarely call out. I'll stay over, work overtime, and come in on my off days if asked to. I show up and do my absolute best to go above and beyond every single time I have the chance. Now, as to why. I am a 31-year-old easily angered man who gets frustrated quickly with anyone who is younger than 22, or that thinks their jacked-up pickup truck somehow makes them superior to the rest of us. I am not the poster child for howdy-diddly-doodly neighbor. I have a foul mouth, a short temper, and darn near no filter at all, but I am honest to a fault, and I show up every day and do a good job. It's basically me giving myself job security by being such an insane asset to the team that I am difficult to get rid of, even if my upper management wants to. Story 92. I'm amazed how few people here are in the work hard category. If you're trying to move up in a career, that's how you do it. Push a little harder than normal. Try to set yourself up for a promotion by taking on ownership of certain things. If you do bare minimum, it's absolutely noticed and you're not going anywhere. Story 93. I give it a solid 60, and when people are looking and I need to look good, I boost it up to 70. I never work twice as hard as the slowest person. Story 94. Nope, and don't listen to that guy that has been there for 25 years and barely makes more than the ones that started last week. Hard work doesn't pay off most of the time. Story 95. I go above and beyond and absorb the work of additional people. Since taking my current role, I've absorbed the responsibilities of 2 full-time individuals in addition to what I was doing. One of those people might have been 75 dead weight, but the other certainly was not. I replaced the person that was a grade above me. It's a story that I can point to anytime the subject of RFs comes up. My job certainly gets more out of me than I do of it, but in the grand scheme of my life, I'm good with it. Maybe I'm a sucker, but I never feel like it. There are stressful days, but my anxiety of a ref is non-existent. I didn't double my salary, but I have the 2 leaders above me in the organization that will go to bat for me anytime it's needed. Do I work a lot? Yep. Should I? Debatable. I don't have kids. My wife works quite a bit as well. We have bills to pay and trips to go on and experiences to have in our time away from work. We also don't have to worry about crippling medical debt due to my wife's chronic conditions because of the benefits at my job. Story 96. I wouldn't take Reddit replies on this topic seriously. Anyone replying in the US is using Reddit in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning. I wouldn't consider this group the most successful people. I'm only on Reddit BC and waiting at the airport for work. Story 97. As a federal employee, it's hard to go the extra mile when you're being characterized as some lazy POS leeching off taxpayers. Contrary to MAGA belief, the majority of us routinely went above and beyond, came in early or stayed late, but since we've been vilified, we've scaled back to mainly doing what's required. Going above and beyond is only on an as-needed basis. Story 98. I've been on the worker side and the owner side. This is my advice. Take it, leave it. No matter what you do in life, give it your all. When you get to the point you pull into the parking lot of your job and you say to yourself, man, fudge this, shoot. That's when it's time for you to find another job. Update your resume and start applying that very same day. If you gave your all at that job, you'll find a better job. I guarantee it. If you do the bare minimum on a job, you'll do the bare minimum in your life. That's all you'll get out of life is the bare minimum. The more you learn, the smarter you have, the more you know how to do, the more you'll make. I'm not saying be the boss's meanie because that won't get you anything but used. I am saying use them the same way they use you. Take advantage of every opportunity to learn and advance yourself you can. Stock purchase programs, 401k, college reimbursement, training programs, etc. Most people don't even ask about that stuff when they work a job. They only look at the dollar per hour per year and overlook the real value of the job. Story 99. Former Kozum Young and private area due to life circumstances, but also the ego of proving myself in. Story 100. In paid $33.90 an hour casual at a camping store. I do bare minimum, but I also put my hand up and help out when it's needed. Story 101. I try to do the minimum as much as possible, but find myself in a lot of situations where I have to go above and beyond. I get the job done and there's not a whole lot of benefit for me to do more than that is my reasoning. Story 102. I do the bare minimum in most cases, but when there is the opportunity to say help someone out, etc., I tend to help, and if they ask, I tell them to just let my manager know how helpful I am. Since I'm a contractor, ATM, it works well to do my job well enough, and to then stand out in moments I know they'll talk to leadership about me, just hoping it leads to a contract extension because the job market sucks right now. Story 103. If you don't go above and beyond in retail, shoot, just piles up and your coworkers will dislike you regardless if they pull their weight or not. It sucks. Story 104. My job is RD, future technology related to video gaming. It's fun. I get paid for patents, paid when I win hackathons, get to go on trips, get to meet startups developing stuff still in secret. People who leave for other companies will remember me. And I develop my own skills the harder I push myself. At this point, not doing my best will feel uncomfortable. Story 105. I give bare minimum on things within my set of rote responsibilities, but go above and beyond on peripheral projects that I was given the green light to pursue for my own professional and personal benefit, i.e., subsidized courses on learning how to code, AI subscriptions, conferences, putting together programs for my own portfolio, etc. Story 106. If there's a critical issue, we'll step up and help to make sure it's handled, but it's an exception and not standard. I used to go above and beyond. All it got me was more responsibility, same pay, while others took credit for my ideas. I do what's required, collect my check, and don't stress about work ever again. Story 107. I was the former for a decade, starting to realize that energy is better suited put towards me, currently trying to set my own business up. Admittedly, it's progressing slowly but technically profitable, but I feel long-term, I'll happier. Story 108. I do what I am willing and able. To me, this is above and beyond. This has seen me promoted 3 times, which is highly convenient for me. Story 109. I do the bare minimum for my job tasks and go above and beyond when translating and helping customers in Spanish. Story 110. I do bare minimum. BC doing more doesn't mean more pay. It just means more things are thrown your way. My job isn't my life. I come in, do my job, and leave. Simple. Story 111. I shifted from one to the other after a health scare. I practically broke myself trying to return to work at full capacity, only to be met with gaslighting and disrespect. Once I realized the loyalty wasn't reciprocal, I switched to strict malicious compliance. Story 112. Bare minimum. I already have one foot in retirement and can't wait for the other one to follow. I tried training people to take over for me, but they can't even be bothered to perform the simplest and most mundane things I do. I've been a Unix admin for 38 years. So I decided that if they didn't GAF, neither would I. and I stop training them. I do try to at least document what I do so that when I'm gone, they might have a chance in hell of figuring out how to carry on. But by that point, I most definitely will no longer have any Fs to give. I do what I have to do, and if there's a crisis emergency, my professionalism kicks into high gear, and I'll do whatever it takes at whatever day hour for whoever long it takes to get things resolved. But then it's back to treading water until I'm gone. Story 113. Let's put it this way. I do what I consider to be an adequate amount of effort, which most of my coworkers probably consider above and beyond. But most of my coworkers are slackers that don't give a fudge. Story 114. My coworker had the same job as me. I was working 3 times more than him, and he is on the phone all the time. Last few months, I became bare minimum worker. Suddenly, he is angry all the time. Depressed. Interesting, huh? When you taste your own medicine. I love it now. I'm just literally sitting at work and scrolling Reddit. If they fire me, I get few thousand anyway. Story 115. If I'm doing something I want to do, I go all in. If I'm doing something I have to do, I do the bare minimum. Story 116. I go above and beyond in doing the exact things needed to complete my job. Rest of the time, approx 4 to 5 hours per day. I use to learn new skills and comment on Reddit. My job is nothing really special in that sense, but I am also extremely good at it. And in the past, I used to die for the job. Didn't really bring me much success. The moment I started doing just enough is the moment I had all the promotions and pay increases, which is kind of sad when you think about it. Story 117. I do both from day to day. My boss is both a chill guy and a jerk at the same time, so it varies depending on my mood. I'm self-employed. Story 118. I go over because I genuinely like the company and people I work for, and I like to put extra effort for them. Story 119. I used to go above and beyond, was a yes man. It got me to a well-paid, decent role. Now I do the bare minimum to retain this position. I've learned it's oak to say no. Story 120. Back in the day in 1970s Britain, my aunt was a machinist in a garment factory. There was a piecework system where the mostly women had a basic wage, but the more pieces they completed, the more money they made. Flying fingers. Story 121. For my team, I dog deep and try and get them the tools, training, and time they need to meet company goals. For my reporting and daily paper pushing bare minimum. In fact, I've completed a study recently of not filing several different reports, and I'm waiting for upper management to clock it. One critical must be filed monthly report. I have not sent up the chain in 2 years, 0 blowback. There are others that's the more egregious. Story 122. It's midnight and I am still here fixing issues right now and looking at code that drives giant robotic arms. I am a meat popsicle and an idiot, but I have very nice things and want to retire early so future me is happy. Story 123. Depends. Will I have a chance at promotion, raise, or bonus if I work harder? What's the nature of the work? If going above and beyond is sift 100 bags of flour for bugs to make your boss smile, then no. If it's rework a system to make life easier for you and your coworkers, potentially proving you worthy of moving up and looking great on your resume, then yes. Story 124. I'm the type of person that if someone comes to me for help, even if that's not my job, or at least find them the right person who can help. I help because I think it's just having good manners. Story 125. Well, I just do what is expected of me. I love my job. So if they start expecting more, then I'll do that. Story 126. I am in a fortunate position where I truly love my job and get paid very well. I would say I go above bare minimum, and I just got done paying $270 for 33 pizzas for all of my coworkers because I love spreading joy. Story 127. Work just hard enough to where you won't be on the chopping block if they need to fire people, but not so hard that you're their dependable go-to employee. It's a very fine line you gotta walk, and I have it down quite well. Story 128. I went above and beyond for 2 years, until I woke up one morning with intense chest and back pain in my jaw, which radiated down my left arm. An hour later, I was in the ER getting tested for a heart attack. After that, I just go slightly above the minimum. I'm not going to eliminate myself for a company. Story 129. I go above and beyond, but I do not compromise my well-being to do so. 8 to 5 is my boss's time. I work my jerk off and do everything in my power to do the job well. I occasionally work overtime unpaid, but this is the exception, not the rule. To be fair, my employer really takes care of the employees. We are compensated well, spoilt, and appreciated. Everyone at my company works really hard. It is the company culture. Story 130. Bare minimum, but only after years of going above and getting burned, passed over for promotions, and ultimately realized it's always better to be the new employee than the old one, making the same pay as a new hire. Story 131. I go above and beyond for things that I would like to be rewarded for, or for assignments that I feel match my career preferences. I'm hoping that showing my strong skills in some things and my lack of skill in others will help shape my role more to my liking. For anything else, I try not to work too hard. Story 132. Always beyond and rather self-destructively. It's probably a pathology. I just don't have the time to worry about it. Story 133. I do a bit of both, but any above and beyond is usually meant for my coworkers. I have done more, and it's gotten me nothing from the company. But you help out your coworkers, and the good ones will reciprocate, and if lucky, the bad ones might target someone else instead. Story 134. I used to go above and beyond, and it got me nowhere. The true is 95 of the stuff you do at work goes completely unnoticed. What is noticed is when you mess something up. If the right people are watching, it can be worth it, but most of the time, you're just screwing yourself over. Story 135. I legitimately enjoy my job and am paid very well. I learn a ton, and I have a supportive team. My direct manager is awesome. Company management is meh. We're allergic to hiring more for some reason. I do what I feel like, and I'm motivated by new learning experiences and getting hands dirty with my team. But I also have times when I just call it early for the day and go have a beer. It's a balance. Some days are fudge it, some days are fudge yeah. Story 136. Depends on the day week. Sometimes I'm not annoyed with everyone and understand the value in what I'm doing, so we'll put far more effort in on those days, weeks. Story 137. I enjoy what I do in a way that makes me care about the quality of what I'm delivering, but I used to be willing to struggle to satisfy an unreasonable ask, and I don't do that now. Story 138. I do the job I'm paid for and ask if I can help out elsewhere. I can do my job incredibly efficiently when I want. However, I procrastinate because I know how simple it is to finish it. Therefore, I see no time racing towards the finish line when I can poke at it for a day or two. Story 139. 80 of the time, bare minimum. I'm operating at 80 of my capacity. 20 of the time, if required, I go above and beyond, which requires 95 to 100 of my capacity. This is the only healthy way to live. Story 140. If you go above and beyond, your 120 becomes the standard and what is expected. So when you actually give 100, it's perceived as 80 for the same pay, so no, not worth. Story 141. Bare minimum with the occasional superstar moment. I have a lot of knowledge on what I do, and my opinion carries a lot of weight where I work. I just need to show them that I don't fudge shoot up and they leave me alone. I learned early on that going out of my way to do everyone else's job just increased their expectations of me. Story 142. It's a mix of both, but I really enjoy what I do for work. I spent years in university to get my BSc and MSc in geology, so I'm happy doing what I do. I'm interested in my work, so I also put the effort into it. Luckily, it's also been noticed from time to time. Story 143. I was a bare minimum kind of guy when I was younger. As I've gotten older and more experienced, I've learned that how you do anything is how you do everything. And I always put my best foot forward. I wouldn't say that I always go above and beyond, but I'm always the first to step up and do what needs to be done. And I live by do more than you're paid for. And inevitably, you will get paid for more than you do. Obviously, that's not the case everywhere, and I understand when people do the bare minimum, but I'm just not a bare minimum kind of person. I think a lot of people are just lazy and use what's the point as justification for it. Whatever I'm doing at my best. I've learned that you create more work for yourself by trying to take shortcuts than by just doing what needs to be done. If you do it right the first time, you won't have to do it again later. It's worked for me, and anywhere where that isn't the case, I quit and go somewhere where it is. Story 144. Above and beyond, as long as I get something out of it. It doesn't have to be money at first, but it should be something that can be proven with data. Then I make sure I'm not neglecting my private life. So whatever I'm doing needs to become more efficient. I keep my creativity in check by requiring data. Story 145. Imbalance these days used to be hardcore above beyond. I missed my husband. I was struggling with certain substances to help me cope. Now I'm off them. My husband and I are happier, and I make a conscious point of logging off in the afternoon at a reasonable time. Story 146. I tend to go above and beyond. At my old jobs, it was to prove that I do take initiative and show that I'm a hard worker. Now it's because I honestly am enthusiastic and love my job. My current workplace is the healthiest environment I have ever worked in, and I do feel appreciated for my efforts. Plus, I have a lot of fun. Story 147. I sometimes go above and beyond, but only if it's aligned to my promotion path, or I think it will help me develop skills or relationships for my career. Story 148. I'm a public sector worker, and some of my coworkers are the same type of losers as some of the people commenting in here. We are all on the same pay scale, but too many of them barely do jack shoot, and the rest of us suffer trying to pick up their slack. Story 149. Once upon a time, I went above and beyond. All it ever got me was trouble. The business leader, who mostly despised how well liked I was, had it out for me and would always tell me to stay in my lane whenever she felt the need. Until she needed something done that wasn't my job but could be asked of me. Joke was on her. I planned to leave behind her back, and everyone but her knew until my very last day. Anyway, when I transferred to a new location, I stopped going above and beyond. Best decision I ever made. Story 150. It's in my DNA to go above and beyond, but it's never paid off for me. Would recommend bare minimum if you can. No one cares how hard you work, and rarely will you benefit from being exceptional. Story 151. It really depends on your perspective. When you're working a regular job, you can get away with doing the minimum that's technically what you're paid for. Doing more is usually nice to have and sometimes gets rewarded, but not always. When you work for yourself, running a business or a project, there is no minimum. If you're not pushing things forward, your goals just don't happen. You feel that directly. The sad truth is a lot of employers love people who work for two but still get one salary. That's where burnout and frustration are born. That's why it actually makes sense to care about automation and AI. Not to become a robot, but to streamline your work, get the boring stuff off your plate, deliver more than the bare minimum while still having time for your own life. For example, at Vertical AI, we build agents you can train to, write social media posts in your style, analyze data you feed them, or support other repetitive tasks. They do it faster, with ideas you might not have thought of on a tired day, and they save you a ton of time. Story 152. I just do what my job description says I need to do. No more, no less. I can only do a job at a time, and the work that's in front of me, if my manager wants to add tasks or take them away, that's up to him, but I'll not rush around to get them done. Just do what's required of me. Story 153. My mentality is to do a job that I am satisfied with, preferably proud of it, but I can't run at a 100 every day. I work hard. I relax hard. No point living with avoidable shame. I am, at my core, lazy, so I try to compensate by being efficient. To my mind, I don't go above and beyond. I think of myself as an above-average worker, but the bar is low, so it's not hard to seem like a great worker by comparison. Story 154. Bare minimum, considering the circumstances. In the last year, I've had 4 managers, 5 reorgs, and 0 clarity on how I'm supposed to do my job. While I look for a new job, I refuse to go above and beyond for a place that can't even tell me what my job is on any given day. But also, the type of work I do isn't saving lives. If I left today, I doubt they'd even replace the position. Story 155. I kind of do both. If I see something that needs done, and it's not a huge demand, and I'll jump in and knock that out. I work on a golf course, and mornings are a scramble to beat the golfers. I don't really have the luxury of waiting for the guy whose job it was to drive back over and fix it. I fix it myself and make sure to bust the other guy's balls about it later. That said, once the morning rush is over and we've moved on to the non-time crunched part of the day, I can often be found hiding by the dump pile smoking plant substance. Story 156. I do what I need to stay under the radar, but enough work to be relied on if needed and help out the next guy on the shift. I suppose it's a happy medium of busting my jerk and doing the bare minimum. Story 157. I do what I need to do to get paid. Never forget you're just a number to most companies. Quickly replaced, forgotten. Learned my lesson. Went above beyond, and you end up getting more and more to do for no extra money. Then last job, when I put in my notice, the boss literally never spoke enough word to me. Not even a morning when passing in the corridor. Story 158. I've had jobs I dislike or just took for a stopgap. I did the bare minimum. Otherwise, I always try to do that little bit more. Go home each day feeling like I did a good job. It's paid off for me. I've had promotions in every job I've taken and job security in difficult times. I've had coworkers in the past turn up and barely do the bare minimum, then complain that they aren't considered for promotions or that their boss is constantly on their jerk. Not always the case, but sometimes you get back what you put in. Story 159. I was told I have intrinsic motivation, but I do my job in the month of October, planning, booking resources, and reservations. The rest of the year, I just do the weekly task. Everyone thinks me and my team work so hard. I will say never expose your hand. You will get more work. But that is actually what made me get where I am today. Story 160. I used to go above and beyond. Now I do the bare minimum, and that's only after being asked sometimes by my boss to get it done. I'm a school psychologist that makes less money than some new teachers in my district that do absolutely nothing. How did they get more? They know the superintendent. Story 161. Neither. I do my job. I used to go above and beyond, but it led to burnout and a lack of appreciation from management. In fact, they took advantage of my comment when I said I thrive in an office environment. Never again. Story 162. I enjoy work if I am achieving and kicking goals. If I do the bare minimum, I don't get that same sense of purpose and excitement. Story 163. I used to go above and beyond until all the work of 2 teams fell only on me as people left. Newer, inexperienced leadership who never learned what the work entailed let that happen to me. Then gave me a trainee I could hardly understand and expected me to be able to train them on everything and do anything I do, plus all the stuff that got dumped on me that I only knew enough about to maintain. Joke's on them. I can't teach, and especially someone whose first language is not English, with 0 industry experience, no drive to take ownership of the task taught, and this person was told they could do it all from home. Burnout is real, and I just do what I can now so I don't lose my mind from the effects of bad leadership decisions. Just have to hang on a few more years and retire from this place with their health benefits that I need from the toll of stress they put on me. Story 164. I am in healthcare, so I go above and beyond, and it really pays off. Not financially on a wage, but I can go to sleep at night knowing I made a difference. Story 165. I used to go above and beyond, but the last year I've honestly not been as much. I think mainly due to back pain and depression, but I miss when I used to put every ounce of effort in and wish I still could. Story 166. At my last job, you got paid the same for whether you put in no effort or all the effort. It didn't matter. But I found that if I nipped problems in the bud ASAP, that I would have less stress or issues coming up and could have longer breaks or more peace. It was actually easier to do exactly what I was supposed to do and nothing more than that than it was to do the bare minimum. Unfortunately, even if I wanted to go above and beyond, it would tick off my coworker who did the bare minimum effort. She didn't like how people would complain that I did this or that and that she didn't do any of that. She said I was making her look bad. Eventually, I started to find a balance that helped her and myself out to where she stopped complaining and instead really appreciated my efforts. She stopped becoming a problem and became a friend once we worked on that balance. In my new field that I'm heading into, bare minimum or less could hurt patients, and I don't want to do that. I want to go above and beyond to help people. Story 167. I work for myself, so I do the best I absolutely can do, so they'll call me back to complete more work for them. Story 168. I straddle the line. I'll go above and beyond in my duties. I'll take extra shifts and help out my coworkers. I am proactive in trying to find solutions for small issues while they're small, but everything is confirmed by a supervisor before enacted. I stop work as soon as I'm clocked out, and I stick to my job description. I'm happy to chat with people and say, I do it a certain way, but I'm not doing it if it's outside my duties. I work multiple roles and have changed department mid-shift, but I've made sure the pay has been adjusted accordingly. I will go above and beyond in my duties and work hours, and nothing outside of that. This is paid off in the first offered when there are extra shifts or opportunities for fun and unusual shifts. And I have a good relationship with my managers. They know my limits and respect them. I can't do bare minimum. I have too much pride and joy in what I do, and I dislike to leave extra work for my coworkers. But I also know my value, and I'm not working for free. Story 169. I do just enough to where it'd be given a good reference, promotion, or raise. However, when working with people with disabilities, seniors, or at-risk teens, I had to be at my best, even if I dislike my bosses. Story 170. I learned that if you go above and beyond, that becomes what is expected. So if you fall back to mid-minimum, you'll be penalized. Best to strive for medium range from the start. Story 171. I did way more than every worker and went above and beyond. Got a lot of praise. I mainly did it for job security. If the shoot ever went down, I wanted to be the one with 40 hours, the one they would keep full-time. In the end, I got my hours cut in half, and slackers and people who did bare minimum got more hours, and I eventually had to quit. I feel like the new manager wanted me to quit to save money because I got 2 more an hour, and they would rather have bare minimum and save 2 an hour, I guess. It's just buoyaness. So now below bare minimum. Story 172. I do what I consider the moral minimum. I will work my stable, steady pace I can keep going on forever. I will not actively seek to only meet the minimum like some people. But if there is 10 minutes until lunch break, I won't seek new work as I am still on pace. Story 173. I do what I'm supposed to do. A little common sense. If you don't do your part, oh well, it won't get done. Story 174. The absolute bare minimum. My new boss has no idea what I do, and as I work from home is never likely to. Story 175. For my work, I do what I consider to be sufficient to get the job done. For certain colleagues, I am willing to much more. Story 176. I used to go way above and beyond since college-era jobs. Last year, I was shown how deeply unnecessary and draining it all was. Now I force myself to only do a bit above bare minimum, which is still a lot, but I can only stop myself from doing too much. So much LOL. Story 177. As a contractor, I do go above and beyond. Here's why. I bill hourly. More work is just more hours for me. I have a contractual min-max that I will work, and any remaining work is carried over to the next day. My clients are accustomed to sloppy workers who don't do the job properly and cut corners. I stand out because I do a thorough job and don't cut corners. It is very rare that a client is unhappy with my work. My industry is very niche, and clients know it will be difficult to replace me. I am extremely professional, never step a toe out of line, and go out of my way to keep my clients happy. It works really well, and they pay me very well as a result. Story 178. My workplace is pretty much filled with Indians who do the bare minimum. All of them take over an hour and a half each day on break, and this is before coffee breaks. They get away with everything, including countless amounts of sick days. Story 179. Above and beyond because AI has already taken 3 departments down. I fudge dislike it, and they never notice. Story 180. I go above and beyond because I am ADHD, and it's just the only way I function and have fun. Last week, the company I worked for 3 years, for which I wrote the first line of code, designed, built, redesigned, etc., the whole pipeline, went bankrupt because the C-level could not find paying customers. Unsure if I will be able to invest as much energy and commitment into anything ever again. That's it for this video. Don't forget to support Vancher and my second channel, Vanchus. See you soon.